Commander Ethan Carter stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station, his eyes fixed on the strange vessel that had appeared near Earth's orbit 3 days ago. The ship was unlike anything humans had built. It had an oval shape, with strange patterns that looked like shells or exoskeletons. "Still watching our visitors?" Dr. Olivia Hastings asked as she floated into the room. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical bun, and she carried a tablet with her latest notes. "Hard to look away," Ethan replied. "First contact. After all these years of wondering if we were alone." The alien ship had caused panic at first. Military forces around the world had gone on high alert, but the visitors had made no aggressive moves. Instead, they sent a simple message in mathematical code that Earth scientists quickly decoded. "We come in peace. We wish to talk." Now, Ethan and Olivia led the team chosen to meet the aliens face to face. As a veteran military commander with diplomatic experience, Ethan was selected to represent Earth's security interests. Olivia, one of the world's leading xenobiologists, would try to understand the aliens' biology and culture. "The shuttle is ready," said a voice over the intercom. "Commander Carter and Dr. Hastings, please prepare for departure." The short journey to the alien ship felt like the longest trip of Ethan's life. The small shuttle moved slowly toward the massive vessel. Up close, the alien ship looked even stranger. Its surface wasn't metal, but something that resembled a combination of shell and crystal. "Nervous?" Olivia asked, checking her equipment one final time. "Just ready to get this done," Ethan said, though his tight grip on his seat betrayed his tension. The shuttle docked with surprising ease, as if the alien ship had adapted its systems to accommodate human technology. When the airlock opened, Ethan went first, followed closely by Olivia. The air inside smelled strange but breathable. Tests had confirmed it was safe, but Ethan still took his first breath cautiously. They followed a glowing path along the floor that led them to a large, circular room. And there they saw the aliens for the first time. The creatures called themselves the Vorzak. They stood on 6 legs and had bodies that reminded Ethan of giant ants, except they were the size of humans and had multiple compound eyes that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Their outer shell was a pale blue color with darker markings. 3. Vorzak waited for them. The middle one stepped forward and made a series of clicking sounds. A device near them translated, "We welcome humans to this meeting. We are pleased your kind has reached the development stage necessary for inclusion in the galactic community." Ethan had practiced his response many times. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome this historic opportunity for friendship and exchange of knowledge." The meeting continued for hours. The Vorzak explained they were representatives of something called the Conclave, a union of intelligent species that shared technology and resources across many star systems. They said Earth was invited to join as a probationary member. During a break, Olivia pulled Ethan aside. "Have you noticed something odd about them?" she whispered. "Besides the fact that they're 6-legged aliens," Ethan replied dryly. "Their behavior. They keep maintaining distance. They're constantly tracking our movements, and did you see how they reacted when you smiled?" Ethan had noticed. When he'd smiled during introductions, the Vorzak had taken a collective step backward. Their translator had made an odd noise like static. "They're prey animals," Olivia said with certainty. "Their evolutionary path is completely different from ours. Forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, high endurance. Humans have all the markers of predator species. I think we make them nervous." Ethan considered this as they returned to the meeting. Now he noticed how the Vorzak always maintained escape routes, how they moved together in coordinated patterns, how they seemed to communicate with subtle movements of their antennae. The lead Vorzak was explaining the terms of Earth's potential membership in the Conclave. "Your species will benefit greatly from our shared knowledge. However, certain restrictions must be observed for the safety and harmony of all members." "What kind of restrictions?" Ethan asked. "Limited expansion beyond your home system, controlled development of certain technologies, regular inspections of your military capabilities. These are standard procedures for new members." Ethan felt a chill despite the warm air. "That sounds less like membership and more like supervision." The Vorzak's antennae twitched. It is merely the prudent path. Your species is unique in ways that require careful integration. As the meeting continued, the Vorzak showed images of other alien species from the conclave. Ethan noticed that all of them had evolutionary traits similar to Earth's herbivores or prey animals: side-facing eyes, herd mentalities, defensive, adaptations rather than offensive ones. When Olivia asked about this pattern, the Vorzak seemed uncomfortable. Intelligent life most commonly evolves from species that cooperate rather than compete. Predator psychology is rare among spacefaring civilizations. Later, back on the space station, Ethan met with the Earth delegation to discuss what they had learned. The room was tense with the weight of the day's events. "They're afraid of us," Ethan said plainly. "Not because of anything we've done, but because of what we are. Evolutionary biology created humans as pursuit predators," Olivia explained to the group. "We're built for endurance hunting, problem solving, and yes, combat. The Vorzak, and apparently most other species in the conclave, evolved from prey animals. Their entire psychology is different." "Should we be concerned about their offer?" asked a UN representative. Ethan chose his words carefully. "I think we should accept their invitation, cautiously. We need to learn more about this conclave and our place in it. But I also think we should prepare for the possibility that their view of humanity may not be entirely favorable." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of his quarters, looking down at Earth. The blue planet seemed suddenly small and vulnerable in the vast darkness of space. Humanity had always been at the top of the food chain on Earth, but out there among the stars they might be seen as dangerous predators to be controlled rather than equals to be welcomed. "Earth produces predators, not prey," he whispered to himself. "And I'm not sure how the galaxy feels about that." As dawn broke over the curve of Earth, Ethan made a decision. He would recommend that humanity join the conclave to learn and grow, but he would also ensure that Earth prepared for any threat that might come. Because sometimes being a predator wasn't just about hunting. It was about protecting what was yours. The Vorzak ship departed 3 days later, taking with it Earth's provisional acceptance of membership in the conclave. As Ethan watched the strange vessel disappear into the darkness of space, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning, and for the first time in history, that challenge would come not from conquering nature or fighting among themselves, but from proving that Earth's predators could find their place among the stars without becoming the monsters that the Vorzak clearly feared they might be. 6 months after first contact, Commander Ethan Carter looked out at the massive space station that served as the heart of the conclave. The structure was larger than anything humans had built, a spinning wheel of metal and crystal with spokes extending outward like a giant snowflake. Ships of various designs moved around it in careful patterns. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Dr. Olivia Hastings, who stood beside him on the observation deck of their transport vessel. "Impressive and intimidating," Ethan replied. "Just as they intended, I'm sure." Lisa Donovan joined them at the window. Though her official title was diplomatic aide, Ethan knew her real job was military intelligence. Her sharp eyes missed nothing as she studied the station. "Our quarters are ready," she said quietly, "though they're in a separate section from the other species. For our comfort, they claim. Or their safety," Ethan said. The human delegation docked at the station and was greeted by a small group of aliens. In addition to the now familiar Vorzak, there were representatives of other species. One looked like a tall, thin reptile walking upright, with scales that shifted color slightly as it moved. Another resembled something between a frog and a seal, with webbed hands and large, dark eyes. The reptilian being stepped forward. "I am High Chancellor Krith of the Tekkan people. On behalf of the conclave, I welcome Earth's representatives." Its voice was translated through small devices each human wore in their ears. "We are honored to be here," Ethan said with a small bow. "Your quarters have been prepared with Earth-like conditions," Krith continued. "You will have time to rest before the welcome ceremony. Ambassador Zal will show you the way." The amphibious being nodded and gestured for them to follow. As they walked through the station's wide corridors, Ethan noticed how other aliens watched them pass. Some moved away quickly. Others stared with what seemed like curiosity or concern. None approached. Their quarters were comfortable but felt strangely isolated. The entire human section was separated from the main areas of the station by a series of airlocks that Ambassador Zal explained were for environmental adaptation. Later that evening, Lisa conducted a sweep of their rooms and found small devices hidden in the walls. "Surveillance," she said, showing one to Ethan. "Not even well hidden. Either they're not trying to hide the fact they're watching us, or they don't think we're smart enough to find these. Or both," Ethan said grimly. The next day, the humans attended their first conclave assembly. The great meeting hall was filled with representatives from over 30 different species. Ethan, Olivia, and the rest of the Earth delegation were seated in a special section near the front. High Chancellor Krith addressed the assembly. "Today we welcome our newest probationary members, the humans of Earth. As is customary, they will observe our proceedings and learn our ways before taking part in conclave decisions." What followed was hours of debate about trade routes, resource sharing, and minor disputes between member worlds. Ethan found it mind-numbingly boring until he began to notice a pattern. All decisions required consensus, but 3 elder species, the Tekan, the Vorzak, and a cloud-like species called the Nure, seemed to guide all discussions toward their preferred outcomes. During a break, Ambassador Zal approached Olivia. "Dr. Hastings, I understand you study biology. Perhaps you would enjoy seeing our biological research facilities." Olivia glanced at Ethan, who nodded slightly. Any chance to learn more about the conclave was worth taking. The research center was vast and filled with specimens from hundreds of worlds. As they walked, Zal spoke quietly, almost nervously. "Your species is unique in the conclave," the amphibian said, leading Olivia down a less crowded corridor. "Because we evolved from predators," Olivia said. Zal's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Yes, but you are not the first." Olivia stopped walking. "What do you mean?" Zal looked around to ensure they were alone. "There have been others, predator species, who reached the stars. They are not among our membership now. What happened to them? Some are quarantined on their homeworlds. Others no longer exist as spacefaring civilizations." Zal's webbed hands made a nervous gesture. "I say this not as a threat, but as a warning. Be careful. Watch for the predator containment protocol." Before Olivia could ask more questions, another alien entered the corridor and Zal quickly changed the subject. That night, the Earth delegation met in secret, with all surveillance devices temporarily jammed. "We're being assessed," Ethan said, pacing the room. "Everything about how they've received us. The isolated quarters, the constant surveillance being kept from certain areas of the station. It's all to determine how dangerous we are." Ambassador Zal mentioned something called the Predator Containment Protocol, Olivia added, explaining her conversation. Lisa looked up from her computer. "I've been analyzing the technology they've offered to share with us. It's all defensive or quality of life improvements. Nothing that would improve our ship's speed or weapons. They're keeping us in a box," Ethan concluded, "making sure we can't expand too quickly or become too powerful." 2 weeks passed. The humans attended meetings, toured facilities, and met representatives from other worlds. On the surface, all was cordial, but Ethan felt the tension growing. Other species rarely initiated contact with humans unless necessary. When they did, their body language showed clear signs of discomfort. During a cultural exchange event, Ethan approached High Chancellor Krith. "I've noticed that humans are the only predator-evolved species in the conclave. May I ask why that is?" Krith's scales shifted to a darker color. "Evolutionary paths create certain tendencies. Predator psychology often includes aggression, territoriality, and individualism that make cooperation difficult. The conclave values harmony above all." "Humans value harmony too," Ethan said. "We've learned to channel our instincts constructively." "Indeed. That is why Earth has been invited to join us. But it is a difficult balance." Krith's eyes narrowed slightly. "Tell me, Commander, in your history, When predator and prey species have met on your world, which has typically survived, the encounter? Before Ethan could answer, an alarm sounded. A minor accident had occurred in another section of the station, a small fire quickly contained. But Ethan noticed how every species reacted with immediate flight responses, moving in groups toward exits. Only the humans instinctively moved toward the disturbance to help. Later, Ethan sent an encrypted message back to Earth. The Conclave fears what they don't understand, and what they don't understand is us. Recommend accelerating defensive preparations while we continue diplomatic efforts. They're watching our every move, assessing whether we're too dangerous to be allowed free access to the stars. As he looked out at the alien station, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that humans weren't being welcomed as equals, but studied as potential threats. And somewhere in the Conclave's vast archives was a protocol for dealing with species like them, predators who had left their planet behind and ventured into a galaxy that feared the very traits that had helped humanity survive. 3 months into their stay at the Conclave station, the restrictions on the human delegation grew tighter. Their access to certain areas was revoked without explanation. Requests for technological information were delayed or denied. Most concerning to Ethan was the increasing number of questions about Earth's military capabilities and defense systems. They want maps of our colonies on Mars and Europa, Lisa Donovan said during their daily secure meeting. She had disabled the surveillance devices and set up a white noise generator to mask their conversation. They're calling it a cultural exchange, but the questions are too specific. Garrison numbers, weapon types, defensive grid patterns. Ethan frowned. Decline politely. Say we need approval from Earth government. Dr. Olivia Hastings had spent the past week studying the Conclave's biological archives. "I've found something," she said, showing them her tablet. Medical records of previous predator species. 3 different civilizations that joined the Conclave in the past 500 years. "Where are they now?" Ethan asked. One was quarantined to their home system after a diplomatic incident. Their technology was limited to prevent interstellar travel. Olivia scrolled down. Another suffered a mysterious plague that reduced their population by 80%. The last one... She paused. The last one apparently became violent and had to be neutralized for the safety of the Conclave. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. "We need to know more about this predator containment protocol that Zal mentioned," Ethan said finally. "Lisa, can you access their secure archives?" Lisa nodded slowly. "It's risky, but I might have a way in. I've been mapping their network security patterns." Back on Earth, Admiral George Winters received Ethan's latest encrypted message with growing concern. In his office at the newly expanded Space Defense Command Center, he called an emergency meeting with his top officers. "The Conclave is asking too many questions about our defenses," he told them. "Commander Carter believes they're assessing our threat level. I want all colonies on high alert. Accelerate the deployment of the new shield generators on Mars and Europa, and double the production of the prototype ships." "Sir, won't that look aggressive if the Conclave is watching?" asked one officer. "Better to look aggressive and be prepared than look harmless and be vulnerable," Winters replied. "Something tells me we're going to need every advantage we can get." 2 days later, Ambassador Zal approached Olivia in the research center. "Meet me in Section 12, Level 4 in 1 hour," the amphibian whispered. "Come alone. Bring no electronic devices." When Olivia arrived at the meeting place, a small maintenance corridor rarely used by station personnel, she found Zal waiting with another alien she had never seen before. This creature stood on 2 legs like a human, but had dark fur covering. Its body and 4 eyes set in a face that reminded Olivia of Earth's big cats. Its teeth, visible when it spoke, were clearly those of a carnivore. "This is Razik," Zal said quietly. "His species is officially listed as extinct in the Conclave records." Razik's voice was deep and rough. "My people were not extinct when we joined the Conclave 200 years ago. We numbered in the billions across 3 star systems." His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Now there are fewer than 10,000 of us, hidden away or disguised like myself." "What happened?" Olivia asked. The Predator containment protocol happened, Razig growled. First came the restrictions, limits on our ships, our weapons, our territory. Then came the diplomatic incidents that were not of our making. Finally, a disease swept through our worlds, a disease that affected only our biology, too specific to be natural. Zal's webbed hands moved nervously. I am part of a small group, within the conclave that believes this pattern is wrong. The elder species fear what they do not understand. They see all predator psychology as inherently dangerous. Why are you telling us this? Olivia asked. Because it has already begun for your people, Razig said. The questions about your defenses, the technology they withhold. Soon, they will engineer a reason to place greater restrictions on Earth. We need proof, Olivia said. Something to take back to our leaders. Zal handed her a small crystal chip. This contains historical records that have been erased from the public archives. Guard it carefully. That night, Lisa worked to access the Conclave's secure network using access codes she had carefully collected over weeks of observation. What she found confirmed their worst fears. The Conclave had detailed files on Earth, Mars, and Europa. They had simulations of human military capabilities and contingency plans for containing what they termed human expansion. Most disturbing was a document titled Earth Integration Timeline that outlined a three-phase plan. Phase 1 was observation. Phase 2 was technology limitations and strategic positioning of conclave forces. Phase 3 was described only as emergency containment, protocols if necessary. They're planning to box us in, Ethan said when Lisa showed him the files. Limit our technology, restrict our movement, and if we resist. Biological weapons, Olivia finished, thinking of what Razig had told her. Targeted specifically at human DNA, Ethan paced the room. We need to warn Earth without alerting the Conclave. If they realize we know their plans, they might accelerate their timeline. As they were discussing options, an alert sounded throughout the station. The human delegation was summoned to an emergency meeting with High Chancellor Krith. In the meeting chamber, Krith's scales had darkened to an ominous blue-black color. We have received disturbing news, the Chancellor said without preamble. Earth vessels have been detected constructing what appear to be weapons platforms in your outer solar system. Ethan kept his face neutral, though inside he was relieved that Admiral Winters had taken his warning seriously. Defensive platforms only, he said calmly, for protection against asteroids and other natural threats. The Conclave Security Council disagrees with that assessment, Krith said coldly. These actions suggest aggressive intent and violate the terms of your probationary membership. We agreed to share information, not to limit our right to self-defense, Ethan countered. Krith's tail moved in a sharp, agitated pattern. The Conclave has voted to place additional restrictions on Earth until this matter is resolved. All technology transfers will cease. Your delegation's movement on this station will be limited to your quarters and selected public areas. Additionally, a Conclave observation team will be sent to your solar system to monitor your activities. As Ethan and his team were escorted back to their quarters, now under heavy guard, he exchanged glances with Olivia and Lisa. They all understood what was happening. The trap was beginning to close. We need to get that evidence to Earth, Ethan whispered. And we need to find a way off this station before they decide we're too dangerous to let go. Back in their quarters, the human delegation found their communications to Earth blocked and their personal belongings searched. The game of predator and prey had shifted to a new phase, and it was becoming clear that the Conclave had no intention of allowing Earth's predators to roam freely among the stars. The human delegation sat in their quarters, now effectively prisoners of the Conclave. Guards from the Vorzak security force stood outside their doors. All communication devices had been taken away. Ethan looked at the faces of his team, concerned, but determined. We need a plan, he said quietly. Lisa, how long until that Conclave observation team reaches Earth? Lisa calculated quickly. Their ships are faster than ours. 5 days, maybe 6. And what will they find when they get there? Olivia asked. Admiral Winters isn't a fool, Ethan replied. He'll have our defenses ready. But if the Conclave truly wants to contain us, They won't send just an observation team. Those ships will have weapons. Or worse, Olivia said grimly, thinking of what Razik had told her about the biological weapons used against his people. Ethan nodded. Which means we need to warn Earth about what's really coming, and we need to do it fast. Over the next 24 hours, they worked on their escape plan. They had few resources, but they had 3 advantages: human ingenuity, the Conclave's underestimation of them, and one unexpected ally. Ambassador Zal visited them under the pretense of a diplomatic check-in. While the guards waited outside, the amphibian slipped Ethan a small device. This will disable the locks on your doors and create a temporary blind spot in the security sensors, Zal whispered. But you'll only have minutes before they realize something is wrong. Why are you helping us? Ethan asked. Zal's large eyes blinked slowly. Because the Conclave has forgotten its original purpose. It was meant to unite different species, not control them. What they're doing to Earth, what they did to Razik's people and others, it's wrong. That night, they put their plan into action. The device worked perfectly, shutting down their door locks and the nearby security systems. They moved quickly through the darkened corridors of the station. Lisa had memorized the patrol patterns of the security forces. They avoided the main pathways and used maintenance tunnels that Zal had told them about. Their destination was the shuttle bay. If they could reach a ship, they might be able to escape and warn Earth. But as they turned a corner, they found themselves face to face with 2 Tekkan guards. The reptilian aliens reached for their weapons, but Ethan was faster. Years of military training kicked in. He moved with a speed and precision that shocked the guards. In seconds, both were unconscious on the floor. Remind me not to make you angry, Lisa said as they dragged the guards into a storage room. That's the difference, Ethan replied. Prey species run when threatened. Predators fight. They continued toward the shuttle bay, but alarms began to sound. Their escape had been discovered. Security forces would be closing in from all directions. We need a distraction, Ethan said as they hid in a small maintenance room. Olivia looked at the station schematics they had memorized. The environmental control systems are 2 levels down. If we could trigger an emergency protocol, most species here evolved from prey animals, Lisa added. They'll follow evacuation protocols automatically if they sense danger. Ethan nodded. You 2 head for the shuttle bay. I'll create the distraction and meet you there. Olivia grabbed his arm. That's too risky. No time to argue, he said. If I'm not there in 10 minutes, leave without me. Earth needs to know what's coming. Ethan made his way to the environmental control room. Inside, he quickly identified the main system panel. He wasn't looking to hurt anyone, just create confusion. He triggered the emergency protocols for 3 different sections of the station, setting off atmospheric warnings and evacuation alerts. The effect was immediate and exactly as they had predicted. Across the station, aliens rushed toward evacuation points, moving in groups, their instincts overriding their training. The security forces were caught up in the chaos, trying to maintain order among panicking civilians. Ethan used the confusion to make his way to the shuttle bay. When he arrived, he found Lisa and Olivia hiding behind some cargo containers. But they weren't alone. High Chancellor Krith and 2 guards were inspecting the shuttles, clearly aware that the humans might try to escape. We need to take them by surprise, Ethan whispered. Lisa, can you? But before he could finish, the door behind them opened. They turned to find Ambassador Zal standing there. For a moment, Ethan feared betrayal, but Zal moved past them and called out to Krith. Chancellor, the humans have been spotted in Section 4. They're trying to access the communication center. Krith turned, scales shifting to an alert orange color. Secure this area, the Chancellor ordered the guards. We'll head to Section 4. As Krith and 1 guard left, Zal suddenly struck the remaining guard with a small device that emitted an electrical charge. The guard collapsed. Quickly, Zal said to the humans. That won't fool them for long. They rushed to the nearest shuttle. Ethan took the pilot's seat while Lisa worked on overriding the launch protocols. Why did you come back for us? Olivia asked Zal. Because I'm coming with you, the amphibian replied. After helping you, my life here is forfeit, and the Conclave needs to change. Perhaps Earth can help make that happen. The shuttle's engines came to life. Lisa had bypassed the security locks, but as they prepared to launch, the bay doors remained closed. "They've locked down the bay," Lisa said. "We can't get out." Ethan looked at the shuttle's weapon systems. It was only equipped with short-range defensive lasers not designed for combat. "But perhaps—" "Everyone strap in," he ordered. "This is going to be rough." He targeted the bay doors with the laser and fired continuously at one point. The metal began to glow red, then white. Warnings flashed across the control panel as the laser system overheated. But just before it failed completely, the weakened section of the door gave way, creating a hole just large enough for their shuttle. Ethan piloted the shuttle through the opening. Behind them, security vessels were already launching in pursuit. "Can we outrun them?" Olivia asked. "No," Ethan said grimly. "Their ships are faster, but we don't need to reach Earth, just get close enough to send a warning." As they raced away from the station, Lisa worked on the communication system, trying to send a message to Earth. But the Conclave ships were gaining quickly. Zal moved to a console. "I know their tactics. They'll try to disable our engines first." "Sure. Enough." The lead pursuit ship fired a precision shot that rocked their shuttle. Warning lights flashed as systems began to fail. "Did the message get through?" Ethan asked Lisa. She nodded. "Partial transmission. Enough to warn them about the Conclave fleet and what it's really carrying." Ethan looked out at the stars. They were still far from Earth, but they had done what they could. Now it was up to Admiral Winters and the rest of humanity to prepare for what was coming. As the Conclave ships surrounded them, preparing to board, Ethan thought about the irony of their situation. The prey species of the Conclave had successfully trapped Earth's predators, but they had forgotten something important about predators. They were most dangerous when cornered. Admiral George Winters stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform. The massive view screen showed the approaching Conclave fleet, 5 large ships and several smaller vessels. They would reach Earth's orbit in less than 12 hours. "Status report," he ordered. "Mars defense grid is online," an officer replied. "Europa stations report ready. The new shield generators are at 90% capacity." Winters nodded. The partial message from Commander Carter had arrived 3 days ago, warning them that the approaching ships carried more than just observers. Thanks to that warning, Earth and its colonies had prepared for the worst. "Any response to our hails?" Winters asked. "None, sir. They're maintaining radio silence." Winters frowned. The silence concerned him more than threats would have. It suggested confidence. A belief that communication was unnecessary because the outcome was already decided. "Where's Dr. Peterson?" Winters asked. As if on cue, a woman in a lab coat entered the command center. Dr. Sarah Peterson was Earth's leading expert on xenobiology, and she had been studying the data Olivia had sent about potential biological weapons. "We've developed countermeasures," she reported. "If they try to use the same type of bioweapon they used against Razik's people, our population should be protected. We've already begun worldwide distribution of the vaccine." "And if they use something new?" Winters asked. "Then we adapt," Peterson said simply. "That's what humans do best." Aboard the captured human shuttle, Ethan, Olivia, Lisa, and Zal had been separated and placed in holding cells. Ethan paced his small cell like a caged animal. He had no way of knowing if their message had reached Earth or if Admiral Winters had been able to prepare. The door to his cell opened, and High Chancellor Krith entered, flanked by 2 guards. "Your attempted escape was predictable," Krith said. "Predator species always resist containment." "You never intended to welcome us as equals," Ethan replied. "This was always about control." Krith's scales shifted to a dark blue. "The Conclave has existed for thousands of years by carefully managing threats. Your species would have been given a place, Commander Carter. A limited place, but a place nonetheless. Until you decided we were too dangerous," Ethan said. "Like Razik's people." Krith's eyes narrowed. "You've been speaking with relics better left forgotten. Yes, some species proved incompatible with galactic harmony. Sacrifices were necessary. Genocide isn't a sacrifice, it's a crime, Ethan shot back. Our fleet will reach your world soon, Krith said, ignoring Ethan's comment. Your people will be given one chance to accept Conclave authority and submit to the containment protocols. If they resist, the Chancellor left the threat unspoken. You don't understand humans very well, Ethan said quietly. When threatened, we don't cower. We fight. We'll see, Krith replied, leaving the cell. The Conclave fleet approached Earth, and Admiral Winters watched with growing tension. The ships had ignored all communication attempts and were moving into attack formation. They're launching smaller vessels, an officer reported. Dozens of them. Defensive positions, Winters ordered. But hold fire unless fired upon. The lead, Conclave ship transmitted a message throughout Earth's communication systems. High Chancellor Krith's face appeared on screens worldwide. People of Earth, the Chancellor began. Your delegation has violated the terms of your probationary membership in the Conclave. For the safety and harmony of all species, Earth must now accept direct Conclave supervision. Your military capabilities will be limited. Your expansion beyond your home system will end. Compliance is mandatory. Winters opened a channel in response. This is Admiral George Winters of Earth Defense. Command, we reject these terms and your authority. Earth and its colonies are sovereign. We entered negotiations in good faith seeking friendship. You responded with surveillance, imprisonment of our representatives, and threats. We will defend ourselves, if necessary. The Conclave ships continued their approach. Winters knew they expected Earth to be helpless against their advanced technology. But thanks to Commander Carter's warning, they were prepared. As the first Conclave vessel moved within range of Earth's defenses, Winters gave the order. Activate shield grid. A shimmering energy field appeared around Earth. The Conclave ships fired their weapons, but the shields held firm. Return fire, Winters ordered. Target their weapon systems only. Earth's defense platforms fired precision beams that struck the lead Conclave ships, disabling their primary weapons. The smaller vessels continued their approach, but they faced something they hadn't expected. Earth ships emerging from hiding places around the Moon and in Mars orbit. The Conclave had expected a quick surrender from a technologically inferior species. Instead, they found themselves facing a coordinated defense from a planet of predators who had prepared for this moment. In his cell aboard the Conclave command ship, Ethan felt the vessel shake from weapons impacts. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. Something was wrong. The Conclave had not expected resistance. The door to his cell suddenly opened. Ambassador Zal stood there with Olivia and Lisa. Quickly, the amphibian said, while they're distracted. How did you escape? Ethan asked, as they rushed through the corridors. I have friends among the crew, Zal explained. Not all Conclave members support the Elders' policies. They made their way to a communication center. Lisa quickly accessed the system. I need to send a message to Earth, Ethan said, and to the other Conclave ships. With Lisa's help, Ethan broadcast a message that went not only to Earth but to every ship in the Conclave fleet. This is Commander Ethan Carter of Earth. I. Broadcasting proof of the Conclave Elders' crimes against multiple species. He transmitted the evidence they had gathered, the records of biological attacks against Razik's people, the containment protocols, the deliberate suppression of predator species throughout Conclave history. The Conclave was founded to unite different species in peace, Ethan continued. Instead, its leaders have used fear to control and eliminate those different from themselves. This isn't about predator versus prey. It's about the right of all intelligent beings to exist without persecution. Throughout the Conclave fleet, crews saw the evidence. On many ships, commanders hesitated, unwilling to continue the attack now that the Elders' secrets had been exposed. On Earth, Admiral Winters used the confusion to press their advantage. Earth ships disabled more Conclave vessels without destroying them. It was a show of strength but also of restraint, demonstrating that humans could fight without becoming the monsters the Conclave feared. In the command center of the lead Conclave, Ship High Chancellor Krith watched as ship after ship ceased their attack. Some were even retreating. "Continue the attack," Krith ordered. But fewer and fewer commanders were listening. Ethan, Olivia, Lisa, and Zale entered the command center, accompanied by several Conclave crew members who had turned against their leaders. "It's over, Chancellor," Ethan said. "Your own people have seen the truth." 3 days later, representatives from Earth met with a newly formed Conclave Council. Many of the old leadership had been removed. Ambassador Zal was among the new council members. "The Conclave must change," Zal told Ethan as they stood in the council chamber. "For too long, we have let fear guide our actions. We feared predator species because they were different, because they reminded us of the dangers our ancestors faced." "And now?" Ethan asked. "Now we must learn from each other," Zal replied. "Prey species can teach predators about cooperation and community. Predators can teach prey about innovation and courage." Ethan looked out at the assembled representatives, a mix of species from across the galaxy. "It won't be easy," he said. "Trust takes time to build." "Yes," Zal agreed. "But for the first time, we're truly trying to understand each other rather than control each other." As Ethan prepared to return to Earth, he reflected on how quickly things had changed. The galaxy had feared Earth because it produced predators, not prey. But in the end, it wasn't humanity's predatory nature that had won the day. It was their uniquely human ability to be both predator and protector, to fight when necessary, but to show mercy when possible. Earth would take its place among the stars not as a threat to be contained, but as a new kind of predator, one that used its strength to defend rather than dominate. The path forward would not be easy, but for the first time, it would be walked together.